Nightmare draft. Ah! All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus. This episode, we're talking about maybe a nightmare draft scenario, something that definitely could be a possibility, but it would be absolutely disgusting if it happened.
Yes, and before we make our sheets all wet with that horrible nightmare, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the vids. We are about 100 away from 7K, and when we do, drop hashtag, you can drop it right now, hashtag 7,000 in the comments for your chance to win this wonderful swag package.
Yeah, come on, let's go. We got 99 to go. We got to get there before draft day. It'll be a complete letdown right there. Hit subscribe. Boom, boom, boom. Nightmare scenario.
Well, and here's the thing. This is a risky video to make because people can come back and look at this 2 years down the road, and we could look like complete idiots saying these players were nightmare picks. They turned out to be amazing.
We will look like complete idiots regardless. And here's the thought behind this is it might not be like the players bad. I mean, it's just like maybe the position when we take them. So it's not really a slight against the player. It's just we don't want it to happen. And we think it would be a nightmare situation here. And we're only doing through round 5.
Yeah, because round 6, round 7, I mean, every pick's a crapshoot there. So some picks last year I thought were nightmares turned out to be pretty damn good.
They did. Speaking of nightmares, favorite all-time horror movie?
Mine is probably Subspecies.
Never even heard of that. I don't know what that is. Sounds horrifying.
How about you?
Nightmare on Elm Street. That's it. Those things kept me up for days when I was a kid. I would literally almost piss my pants. I probably still couldn't watch one without getting scared.
Well, maybe you'd be drunk. It'd be okay.
All right, let's do it. Nightmare situations come draft day. Round 1. What do you got?
We're going with the center from Iowa, Tyler Linderbaum. And this was a nightmare because the previous time we took a nightmare or took a center in round 1, turned out to be a nightmare in Garrett Bradbury. And my concern is this. The more I read up on Tyler Linderbaum, I'm just afraid he's going to be another Garrett Bradbury. I know he didn't have any issues anchoring in college against big old nose tackles, but the NFL is a different beast. And he's got short arms. He's a little undersized. He's very athletic. It just seems like Garrett Bradbury version 2.0. And I'm not saying if he fell, I wouldn't want him, but at 12 to me is way, way too rich.
The key word here is 12, at pick 12. And if you were to go back and watch 2 months ago, I mean, I was all aboard the Linderbaum train, but I don't know what happened. I just don't want him. I actually think he's going to be damn good. I don't think he's going to be a Bradbury. I think he's going to be good, but I just can't handle it. I can't take another center this early. Let's ride out Bradbury. Maybe we get a guy in round 2, round 3, whatever, but Linderbaum, nightmare for me.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think the value's there at 12 at all.
The other reason it's a nightmare is because we clearly missed out on some cornerbacks or possible safeties. So that's another angle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Who do you got for the second one?
Round 2, a guy that we've seen mocked a couple times to the Minnesota Vikings, defensive lineman Perion Winfrey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll let you start on this one.
I mean, if we ran a 4-3, I'd feel a little bit better about it. I would actually maybe like him, maybe want him a little bit more, but put him on the outside at defensive end. I want a guy that's more polished. I want a guy that's more ready. And round 2 is just too damn early for Winfrey. That said, like I said, if he goes to a 4-3, he might have a good rookie year. I'd rather have more of a finished product. I'm just not feeling him.
Yeah, you hate to take a guy in round 2 and change positions on him. And yes, the Vikings are going to run some 4-3 fronts, and Perry Winfrey is a guy I probably need to take a little closer look at as well because there's a lot of mocks have him going to the Vikings in round 2, so I'll be ready for it. But yeah, I don't like that thing. He's been playing inside. You butt him outside with a second-round pick. To me, that's just too much of a risk for me.
Yeah, and he's a guy that seems like he needs a little polishing anyways. So that on top of changing his spot, uninterested. Round 3, nightmare situation.
Well, and this, again, I could put any player here, but I've seen a lot of mocks having the Vikings address inside linebacker in the first 3 rounds. A lot of times it's in round 3. So I'm with Channing Tindall, the linebacker from Georgia. Nothing against Channing. He's kind of a late bloomer at Georgia. Didn't really produce till his senior year, which is kind of shocking when you think of all the names in that defense. But the Vikings just have bigger needs to address before they go with the linebacker, especially after the Jordan Hicks signing. You got some young bucks back there, Chaz Rupp, Blake Lynch, guys who can step up and fill in, and maybe with some better Tough Borland with some guys better play in front of them. Maybe those guys can produce. So I'd rather see what those guys can do as backups, and maybe you address inside linebacker next year when Eric Kendricks gets a little bit older. This is more of a position I'd rather see the Vikings use one of their 6th-round picks on.
Yeah, this is more position than the guy, but you did pick a good one. If we went inside linebacker, it'd be a nightmare anyways this early. But a guy like Channing Tindall, man, I mean, everybody say he's underrated, but it's almost maybe he's overrated. He was on that Georgia defense. I mean, maybe he should have been better. I don't like the fact that he's a late bloomer. I mean, if he was playing for just some dog shit team and ripped it up, it'd be one thing. But he's on Georgia. You would have get drafted if you're on the Georgia defense this year.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome.
That. Means the world to me.
You're welcome. No round 4 pick. That's a nightmare in itself. Let's go round 5.
It's Chris Herndon. That was our 4th-round pick.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the work. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think we can still sign him. He's still out there.
Round 5 is Jack Jones, a cornerback the Vikings have already been sniffing around. Couple angles on this is it's a nightmare because they waited till round 5 to get their cornerback, which would be absolutely horrifying. And also Jack Jones has quite the past off the field. So not only that, but they're taking a risk. The guy can play, but he's got question marks.
Yeah, again, this is not about his ability. It's the fact that you wait till round 5 to address your biggest need in the draft and take a guy who maybe doesn't even play much because he gets himself in trouble again because he can't quite straighten that aspect out of his life. So huge gamble, huge risk. So you could potentially not address your biggest needs till round 5 here in this scenario and then still not even have that guy. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. And when you look at the nightmare scenario, you also have to look at a lot of those nightmare scenarios evolve around best player available. Like the Winfrey, maybe he's just their top guy on their board. Mm-hmm. Tyndall, maybe he's just their top guy on the board. Same with Jack Jones. So it could happen.
It could happen. And you know what? We could be looking back 3 years from now saying this was the best damn draft the Vikings ever had.
These guys could be all potential Hall of Famers. But as of now, for us, it would be a damn nightmare.
Makes me sick. Let us know your guys' nightmare draft scenarios, at least the first 3 picks. What would be just a horrible start for you? You could not stand.
Yeah, and you got to make it realistic. You can't just say, "Oh, taking a punter in round 2."
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something they might actually do. And I think our scenario was definitely a realistic one.
It was. It was be a nightmare. Don't worry, we're going to be back to cheer up a little bit because we're going to have what are we going to call it?
Wet dream scenario.
Wet dream scenario. There we go. Wham, bam, and also. Send your videos. We've gotten a couple more. Send your videos. Onebar Lupagus@gmail.com with your first round projection. We're going to put it on an episode early next week, baby.
I've seen a couple so far, and they are fantastic.
Yeah, you got to step up your game this year.
The bar has been raised. All right, guys, what you're thinking what to do about that video. Remember this. California has a larger population than Canada.